Warning: you might find the content herein disturbing, but the truth must be revealed.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
What is it? It's an escapee. It's a virus that jumped out of its original created arena, and now it's in a brand new field, and the new field is called humans, and we don't know how to control it.
Please continue watching to find out more.
Hoe gaat het met u? Means how are you in Dutch, the official language of Republic of Suriname. My name is Paul. The gentle people of Republic of Suriname appreciate you for treading lightly on the earth to protect our planet and its inhabitants. Welcome to our show entitled A Global Food Reform is the Answer to COVID-19, Part 1 of 2. The COVID-19 pandemic has taken an immense toll on human lives and the world economy. In this two-part show, we will examine its cause and solutions. In a YouTube video posted on March 14, 2020, marine biologist Dr. Robert Carter, a senior scientist and speaker for Creation Ministries International-USA, or CMI-USA, in Atlanta, Georgia, USA, discussed how SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus responsible for COVID-19, emerged.
You probably learned that you have more bacteria in and on your body than you have cells in your body. That's a lot of bacteria, but you know what? You have even more viruses than you have bacteria. What? What are the viruses doing? They're controlling the number of bacteria in your gut, and they're controlling the species of bacteria. So what they're doing is regulating. In general, they don't cause disease. However, when they jump to another species, that other species doesn't have the ability to regulate this virus properly. Right now, there's a new virus in the world. It's a coronavirus. This is not a good thing. But what is it? It's an escapee. It's a virus that jumped out of its original created arena, and now it's in a brand new field, and the new field is called humans, and we don't know how to control it. Our immune system doesn't deal with it very well.
In other words, viruses normally are benign and species-specific, but can wreak havoc when they jump species. A pig coronavirus normally cannot infect a human because the spike proteins on the pig virus do not fit the receptors on the human cells. For a coronavirus to infect another species, its spike molecules would need to mutate first before they can attach themselves to the cells of the new host species, in a lock and key fashion. For reasons as yet unknown, such mutations can and do occur, enabling a virus to jump species. A disease that is transmitted from animals to humans in this fashion is known as a zoonotic disease. The current consensus among the scientific community is that COVID-19 originated in bats. Bats are a major natural reservoir of coronaviruses. Bats do not become ill themselves from the coronaviruses they carry, but can pass them on to other animals. Since humans rarely interact with bats, it is unlikely that bats directly gave the COVID-19 virus to humans. However, humans routinely interact with other wildlife and livestock animals. Genetic evidence suggests that pangolins are the intermediate host for the COVID-19 virus. The pangolin is the most globally trafficked mammal. According to the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN, more than 1 million pangolins were poached and illegally traded for their meat and scales used in traditional Chinese medicine from year 2000 to 2013. It is believed that the COVID-19 virus jumped from the trafficked pangolins to humans at the wet market in Wuhan, China in December 2019. Dr. Christian Walzer, Executive Director of Wildlife Health Program at Wildlife Conservation Society, tells us why the Wuhan wet market was a crucial springboard for COVID-19.
Some of these markets can actually have 30, 40 species, wildlife species, at the same time in the market. The animals are alive on these wet markets, so they are actually shedding. They're pooping, they're sneezing, they're coughing. It's just an absolute perfect cauldron of contagion and a breeding ground for new viruses.
Other than wildlife trafficking, animal factory farms constitute another significant source of zoonotic epidemics. The avian flu epidemic of 1997 and the swine flu pandemic of 2009, for example, originated in livestock farms. In those cases, viruses made the jump from bats to factory-raised animals, namely chickens and pigs, respectively, before spilling over to humans. Concerned viewers, we will now pause for a brief constructive message. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television.
Warning: you might find the content herein disturbing, but the truth must be revealed.
Welcome back to our program. Animal livestock farms have another dark side in association with COVID-19. Some studies have found that 1 in 7 patients hospitalized with COVID-19 has acquired a dangerous secondary bacterial, pneumonia, or respiratory co-infection, and 50% of patients who have died had such infections. In those cases, the COVID-19 and bacteria work in tandem as a 1-2 punch. The virus suppresses the immune system, making it easier for tough bacteria to take control. As it turns out, animal livestock farms are the primary source of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, known as superbugs, which can resist the most powerful antibiotics currently available and cause devastating damage to the human body. Why are livestock factory farms highly conducive to the proliferation of superbug bacteria? Professor Lance Price, the founding director of the Antibiotic Resistance Action Center at George Washington University, explained in a TEDx talk in 2014.
When I see these factories, when I see these operations, I don't see factories making meat. I see factories making trillions and trillions and trillions of drug-resistant bacteria. No, the most diabolical villain could not design a better system for creating superbugs than the modern CAFO. You have everything you need. You have tens of thousands of animals crammed together in filthy, stressful conditions. You have bacteria, loads of bacteria, right, living in those animals, spreading between those animals. And then you have the magic ingredient. You have a steady stream of low-dose antibiotics.
As more resilient multi-drug-resistant bacteria emerge from animal factory farms, we are running out of antibiotic treatments for deadly infections. Of even greater concern is that superbug bacteria in livestock farms present an enormous risk of bacterial pandemics. A prime example of a bacterial pandemic is the bubonic plague, the Black Death that wrecked Europe in the Middle Ages. Over the years, the ever-increasing human demand for meat and dairy has given rise to more numerous, larger-scale animal-livestock operations, increasing the frequency of animal-human contact. Moreover, many of these sites are encroaching on bat territories, amplifying the risk of virus transfer from bats to humans. It should come as no surprise then that about 75% of new or emerging infectious diseases have their origins in animals, according to the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. This means that we could likely have saved the 40 to 150 million lives that were lost to the Spanish flu, HIV/AIDS and swine flu pandemics alone, plus untold related suffering, had we minimized our contact with stressed animals by leading a vegan lifestyle. The majority of those animals had their lives taken away from them because meat and dairy were thought to be a legitimate part of the food pyramid. However, the science of dietetics and nutrition has come a long way. A significant number of the world's most advanced health organizations and medical institutions have now declared that a well-planned vegan diet is appropriate for all stages of life, including pregnancy and infancy. These organizations include the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the British Dietetic Association, Dietitians of Canada, the Australian National Health and Medical Research Council, New Zealand Ministry of Health, and Harvard Medical School. It is not just about health of the individual, but also the health of our Earth home. According to the prestigious World Watch Institute, animal livestock raising is the #1 cause of human-induced global warming. It is also the leading cause of deforestation, water and food shortage, species extinction, ocean acidification, planetary desertification, and loss of habitat for animals and humans. Moreover, as the crown of creation, we humans cannot, in good conscience, turn a blind eye to the fact that wet markets and animal livestock operations are a living nightmare for the animals and the human workers involved, flying in the face of the principle of love central to all major faiths. No matter how you look at it, a shift to a vegan lifestyle is a win-win proposition for all. Dear friends, we have no time to lose. As we have illustrated, we may be just one animal livestock farm, one wildlife, or one livestock animal away from the next zoonotic pandemic, which could be even deadlier, according to an assessment by top experts from the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES, published on 27th of April 2020. The report reads in part,
Our actions have significantly impacted more than 3/4 of the Earth's land surface, destroyed more than 85% of wetlands, and dedicated more than 1/3 of all land, and almost 75% of available fresh water to crops and livestock production. Future pandemics are likely to happen more frequently, spread more rapidly, have greater economic impact, and kill more people if we are not extremely careful about the possible impacts of the choices we make today.
One thing COVID-19 has opened our eyes to is that, collectively, we are willing to make drastic changes to our lifestyles when human lives are on the line. We wear masks, practice social distancing, stay locked down, and avoid mass gatherings. With potential runaway global warming looming large, no less than life on Earth is now at stake. This beckons the question: is it time for humanity to make one more simple but giant step? Embrace the healthy, environmentally friendly, and compassionate vegan lifestyle? The answer is clearly yes. And by taking this action, we can solve a myriad of devastating global issues in one stroke, including pandemics, chronic diseases, enormous economic troubles, water shortages, world hunger, species extinction, and climate change. In our previous episode, we explored how the vegan lifestyle is the panacea to virtually all the major woes of the world today, including COVID-19. In this episode, we will discuss ways you can boost your body's immune system against major diseases like COVID-19. So far, most of the world's focus has been on limiting one's risk of possible exposure to the coronavirus. Measures recommended by the World Health Organization to minimize contact with the virus include social distancing, hand washing, wearing protective gear, and avoiding mass gatherings. While these measures are certainly essential, public health systems in many countries are increasingly emphasizing the other half of the equation, enhancing the immune system. This makes sense, since a robust immune system could possibly help keep the disease at bay, or minimize recovery time in the event one is infected. The following statistic shows just how crucial a strong immune system is in helping a patient recover from COVID-19. According to the US government's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, June 2020 data, deaths are nearly 12 times higher among COVID-19 patients with underlying medical conditions, such as heart disease, diabetes, chronic lung disease, and hypertension, than those without, a 19.5% versus 1.6% mortality rate. In addition, the mortality rate increases exponentially with age, further evidence that one with a weaker immune system is more likely to succumb to the disease. The question then becomes how to build a strong immune system. The first person we might look to is Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, who said 2,500 years ago, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." This principle is echoed in one of the central tenets of traditional Chinese medicine. Medicine and food are of the same origin. Or, as the common saying goes, you are what you eat. But what kind of food is best for us? One of the largest and most comprehensive studies ever conducted in this area is a joint effort between Cornell University of the USA, Oxford University of England, the Chinese Academy of Preventive Medicine, and the Chinese Cancer Institute, tracking 6,500 rural Chinese over a 20-year period. The study finds conclusively that there are no nutrients in animal-based foods that are not better provided by plants. Not only that, it also finds that animal food of any kind, even in small amounts, is damaging to health. This highly regarded long term is chronicled in the iconic book The China Study, released in 2004 by one of the lead scientists of the project, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, Professor Emeritus of Nutritional Biochemistry at Cornell University. Today, at the age of 86, Dr. Campbell remains active in the promotion of the whole food plant-based diet as a vital solution to chronic diseases, environmental degradation, and climate change. In an interview conducted by his eldest son Nelson Campbell in April 2020 about COVID-19, Dr. Campbell sheds light on the role of plant-based food in managing viral infections.
The greater was the consumption of animal-based foods, the greater there was of the antigen, that's the active form of the virus.
Further, in an article published on plantpurecommunities.org in April 2020 entitled "Our Most Important Defense Against COVID-19, Finding Hope Through Scientific Evidence," Dr. Campbell wrote,
"In my opinion, good evidence exists to show that the beneficial effects of a whole food, plant-based WFPB diet also applies to viral diseases like COVID-19. I am referring to 1. Research findings in my lab in the 1970s through the 1990s, 2. Supplementary evidence from a comprehensive study of diet, lifestyle, and disease twice done in a human population in rural China during the 1980s, and 3. Specific evidence from researchers on diet and viral infection.
An analysis of plant foods reveals why they are far superior to animal foods. Apart from providing the necessary fuel and nutrition for our body, a balanced vegan diet contains sufficient levels of many immunity powerhouses, including vitamin C, vitamin E, beta-carotene, flavonoids, selenium, and zinc. These super antioxidants enhance the production and activities of 2 important immune system defenders, white blood cells and antibodies, and protect them from oxidative damage. Wise viewers, we'll pause now for a constructive message and then return. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to our show. According to Dr. Joel Kahn, known as America's Healthy Heart Doctor, a vegan diet leads to a reduction of high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, primary inflammatory marker associated with a high risk of coronary artery disease.
In early 2019, New York University published a study of 100 heart patients. Half of them did the American Heart Association diet, which is far better than the average American diet. Half of them did a plant-based diet designed to be very anti-inflammatory, brightly colored purples and reds and yellows and greens of whole foods. The C-reactive protein fell much more during the 12 or 16-week study on the plant diet than even the reasonably balanced American Heart Association diet.
A study in China found that one possible predictor for those having a mild episode of COVID-19 that develops into a more serious case over time is having higher amounts of C-reactive protein in their blood. When exploring the issue of health, people have long suspected that there is a strong correlation between a person's emotional well-being and the immune system. The field that seeks to explain this body-mind connection scientifically is known as psychoneuroimmunology, or PNI, which has grown by leaps and bounds in recent decades. A vast literature now exists showing that a happy mood boosts immunity, whereas sustained stress, anger, or fear can alter biological systems in a way that increases systemic inflammation, a precursor to chronic diseases. When we are stressed, our bodies produce higher levels of cortisol, our body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol helps the body deal with the stress in the short term, but sustained high levels of cortisol can result in a fatigued immune system, opening the door to heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and other chronic ailments. A high level of cortisol also exacerbates COVID-19 symptoms. According to research published in July 2020 by the UK-based National Institute for Health Research, excessive cortisol is associated with an increased mortality rate and a shorter survival period for COVID-19 patients. Health psychology professor Kavita Vedara at the University of Nottingham, UK, has noted, high levels of cortisol are associated with poor COVID-19 outcomes, and drugs that block the hormone seem to improve outcomes. The good news is that it is within our power to prevent or help reverse chronic diseases, as well as COVID-19, by reducing cortisol levels and associated chronic inflammation. According to Dr. Gökhan S. Hatamashligil, a Simmons Professor of Genetics and Metabolism at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, a pioneer in research efforts to understand chronic diseases, chronic inflammation is uniformly damaging and is absolutely causal to the process, because if you interfere with it, you can reverse the pathology. When it comes to the best ways to prevent excess inflammatory responses and manage cortisol levels, a plethora of research shows that, other than exercising regularly and maintaining a positive mindset, the food we eat is of paramount importance. A single meal containing animal products may double the cortisol level in your blood. This may be related to the fact that livestock animals constantly undergo extremely stressful conditions, especially at the time of slaughter. Conversely, a wholesome vegan meal lowers the cortisol level and stress level. Dark chocolate, holy basil, and almonds are examples of effective cortisol reducers. This may explain why many studies have shown that vegans are, on the whole, much happier and less stress-prone than meat eaters. A whole food vegan diet also lifts one's mood by elevating the level of serotonin, the happy hormone, in the brain. Tryptophan is the amino acid that the brain uses to generate serotonin. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, pulses and whole grains contain abundant tryptophan. By contrast, animal foods, especially dairy, inhibits tryptophan from crossing the blood-brain barrier and being converted to serotonin. As we have seen, a wholesome vegan diet is beneficial to the immune system in many ways. A vegan lifestyle is exactly what the fully enlightened spiritual master, Supreme Master Ching Hai, has been lovingly advising for decades to safeguard our health, environment, animal co-inhabitants, and our planet Earth, our only home. Her divinely inspired message is particularly relevant today amidst the pandemic and climate emergency.
The lifestyle of a vegan diet is most peaceful. First, the vegan diet is making peace with our own body because it is the healthiest and kindest diet we could ever have to our being. Millions upon millions of deaths due to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity could be virtually gone. We will have a stronger immune system to face other kinds of diseases, which would not plague us. New deadly viruses like the swine flu or worse would not plague us anymore.
Our sincere gratitude to Supreme Master Ching Hai for her infinite compassion and wisdom, and for patiently showing us the way to a safe and sustainable future. Let us heed her words and resolve to honor the foremost tenet in all the major religions of the world, benevolence, and dedicate ourselves to the realization of a peaceful and prosperous vegan world together.
All of Supreme Master Ching Hai's tips for protection during the COVID-19 and any other pandemic are free for viewing and download at masterstipsoncovid-19.com.
Inspired viewers, thank you for your company today for our program. Coming up next is Buddhist Stories, the story of Maga, part 8 of 10, on Between Master and Disciples, right after noteworthy news. May inner bliss unfurl in your being like a fragrant blossom, in heaven's everlasting love.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/show.